David Gillson, welcome to the Flipside.
It's very cool to be here on the Flipside, and I'm very excited to be sharing some things with you today.
Yes, me as well. So thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I think you have the most enviable client list in South Africa, and you found time for us. So thank you.
Yeah, well, it's great to be here. Yeah, very excited to be sharing what I do and my inspiration, and and this beautiful
Beautiful
setting.
location, yeah. So David, this is what fascinates me the most. You are so busy, yet you find time to go on the most extraordinary trips and travels all over the world. Watch your Instagram often to see where you are and what you're up to.
Well, I think that my trips are what inspires me, and that's what keeps me creative. It keeps me coming back. Also, I want to be here in the south of Africa. I want to still feel that I'm internationally relevant, and to feel that what I'm doing could stand on a world stage, and that if people travel or come, that I'm talking the same language as hairdressers all over the world, still with my unique take on it, but I still want to be completely relevant on international trends.
Yeah, which I think you definitely are. Yeah. So speaking about travel, one of your latest trips to Africa Burn was particularly fascinating, because this is not really what you'd associate with high fashion, and you think Milan and Paris and New York and London. And Africa Burn, I think, is a very different expression of creativity to what you would associate fashion and hair and style with.
I think that it was something that it's intrigued me, going to Africa Burn, but it's never been on my radar, just sort of like, and then I was sort of pushed into it in a way, and I'm very, very pleased that I went. And it was actually incredibly inspiring, and it's a real disconnect. There's no internet connection, there's no cell phone reception. And people, there's no age, there's no time, there's no shape or size, meaning that no matter what size you are, there was a lot of nudity, which I didn't expect.
Really? Okay.
And a lot of people, so you could be 80, wear a pink tutu, and no one's going to judge you. So it's a real sense of freedom. And it's also, I think, I wasn't prepared for the level of intellect and the level of high-powered business people that were there.
Yes.
And I think for them, it's really important that they can have that escape. And I think they just take a week or 2 weeks out of their normal hectic life. In our camp, there were a lot of people from Silicon Valley, a lot of people from Google and from Facebook, and really, really interesting people, 2 girls from NASA.
Wow.
And it was just amazing that they could just let their hair down, and no one judges them, and they don't have to be anyone, because the way you dressed or undressed is the sense of freedom as well.
Yeah, and out of that freedom comes intense creativity, I can imagine.
Yeah. I think also when you opt out of the daily grind, just getting to work, the traffic, the cell phone, all the distractions, it sort of really does open up your mind quite a bit.
Yeah, because you're breaking routine. So you've mentioned something else that interests you regarding just kind of stepping out of your day-to-day. And you're currently fasting. So that's really interesting. How are you managing your crazy schedule, David, not eating?
Well, I think fasting is really important for me, because it's really, makes you very focused. It is a detox, and you get incredible amounts of energy towards the third day of the fast. And also it opens up creativity as well, I find. And actually
the third day you start to feel...
Well, it depends, the third or the fourth, or sometimes the second day. I think the first 2 days you're detoxing, and depending on how much you need to detox, after you've detoxed, then you get into this, it's like a euphoria. You get into a sense of really clear, you sleep like you cannot believe at night. And you also wake up completely refreshed, and you wake up naturally very early in the morning with incredible amounts of energy.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So, and it really is really good, So I think I'm actually reading this book called Stealing the Fire, and I chose I got someone recommended the book after Africa Burn, and I think all these things are really help creativity and really help you moving forward, is to opt out of either by chanting or fasting, or some people use mind altering drugs, but anything about changing your daily routine opens you up to being a little bit more open to creativity, and
creative
then
thinking, alternative
thinking, and that can help you move forward in your life and move forward in your career or your life goals as well.
Oh, brilliant, David. I admire you. So maybe something I'll try in a few days' time. So, David, I met you many years ago on Fashion Week, SA Fashion Week, where at the time Colton Hair was styling the hair. And since then, I've become a client of yours. And since meeting you, I totally love my hair, which has always been quite a frustrating part of my appearance. And as a model, obviously, I think hair is really that finishing touch. And it doesn't matter how good your body looks or your skin or your makeup. If the hair doesn't fit, it ultimately, the look doesn't work. So I want to understand your philosophy on hair and why you believe it's so important to an individual personality or character. Why does hair make the person?
Well, I think hair is something you wear every day. And I think it's something that, like Coco Chanel said, a woman that cuts her hair is about to change her life. So I think if you do something different, either with your color or your cuts, it just puts you in a different realm, and it's really important. And I try and look at it, and you think, oh, these sort of things shouldn't really matter in the bigger picture. But it sort of really does. And I think it's your signature. Even if it's something simple, then that's what you're saying. Or even not making an effort, like there's a big trend for women to let their hair go grey. That's still making a statement, although you're doing less,
Yes.
So I think
it's still a considered element to your appearance.
And it's also, some people do it as a sense of rebellion or, going against the system. So I think everything about your hair, even if you're doing less, is very important. And I think for someone like you, like a model, then one of the most important concerns for anyone, for me, model or not, is the condition of the hair.
Yes, the health.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate to work with a very eco-friendly Italian brand called Davines.
Yes.
So it's one of the fastest growing hair care brands in the world. And
with a conscience.
With a conscience. So I think that it's a really nice story, because I've actually go to Italy once a year, and it's in a small factory. I mean, not that small, but it's still produced in Parma. And completely zero carbon footprint. So however the product's produced, it has no impact on the environment whatsoever. And also, people talk about, animals going extinct and that, which is an important element. But there are also plants that are going extinct.
Exactly, that people aren't aware of at all.
And Davines, as a slow food project, is key pointing plants and extracts that are going extinct, and then paying farmers to use those products so we can keep those.
To kind of rehabilitate them.
Yeah, so that we can keep those plants, and also they work very well for their hair. So the packaging, the way they help communities, it's also. It's a great story, but I mean the most important thing to me is that it works, because I don't want to have a great story and I don't get my fantastic colors and that. So it's like a fantastic tool.
My best part, I've noticed on some of the bottles, they'll actually label the farmer's name on the bottle. It'll say this extract from X, Y, and Z's farm in this
Sicily or
from
Sicily.
And it really personalizes something that most hair care, there's nothing particularly personal about a Kerastase or a Redken, but with this brand you really feel like you're connecting to a community. So like you said, you're getting great results from an amazing product, and you also feel like you're contributing to a cause by buying them.
Yeah, you really are, and it's a true story, because I've been fortunate enough to go to Parma where it's produced, and then also see the projects that they fund and help to help communities, plants and farmers, and it's really working. So, and what's really nice is that it's a fantastically successful brand. It's one of the biggest growing hair care brands in the world.
Wins frequent awards. I've noticed certain products, like I've seen the Oi oil has often won sort of magazine competitions, or I think
a lot of their products are, and also because it's not one of the huge brands, if they find an ingredient that's better than the previous ingredient, they're quite happy to swap and change the ingredients, as long as the performance, the condition, and the environment are being improved. Then they're happy to change it. So it's not like it's a huge brand where they can't do that. So it's a constantly evolving brand, and it's constantly the products are constantly getting better. We've just launched a whole new coloring system, Vibrachrome, which is
Yes.
much shinier.
So speaking of, this is what's in my hair. Is that correct?
And it's long lasting.
Yes, it
The
is.
three things that we're supposed to get from the color, which now sort of working with it it's been on the market for about a year and probably about 6 months in South Africa. We are seeing a longer lasting color, a shinier result of the color. One of the active ingredients they obviously would never test on animals or
Yes.
have any. It's completely sort of vegan product. So they've used protein from quinoa, and
wow.
that's a really
Okay.
really high source of vegetable protein.
Okay.
And we're seeing an amazing shine and a long lasting color, and we're also seeing, which doesn't affect you yet, but we're seeing much better grey coverage, which is good.
But David, I'll be honest, I've noticed since coming to you for my color, the quality of my hair has improved. My hair is more resilient at shoots and on shows. Fashion shows, things like Fashion Week in particular, being incredibly stressful for your hair with all the teasing and 5 different styles in one night. But I've seen since you've been coloring my hair that my hair is tolerant and doesn't look so bad after that crazy week.
I think are you're so busy, and the shoots and that. So you're a really good example of how what a hair has to go through, and how a really good product and color can really help you on that journey, and that it's so much more. In the long run, your hair is still keeping the integrity of the condition.
And it's your responsibility as a model, because unfortunately on most shoots you're sort of an object, a product, and they do what they need to get the look that they want, and they don't care if tomorrow you've got a job where your hair has to also look decent. So that's why I rely on you for. But let's talk about the cuts that you've given me recently.
Yeah.
So Met Gala 2017 inspired. The bob seems to be very popular at the moment.
Yeah, I think, there's certain things, obviously my travels that inspire me, but I think the biggest fashion event and award event is the Met Gala, because I think people are always pushing the boundaries, and it's the first Monday in May. And that's actually an amazing documentary, the movie, The First Monday in May. It's about the making of the Met Gala.
All right.
That's just a side point.
I'll make a note.
So I always wait to see the looks of that. And this year, it was very, very, very strong. The bob, which is a complete classic of looks, and how so many people took that look and reinterpreted the look. And I think the theme of the Met Gala this year was Comme des Garçons. And I think Comme des Garçons, the essence of the brand is like taking classic looks and reinventing them.
Yes,
using tailoring in a new way. And it was nice. That's how I got my inspiration for the looks from that. And it was amazing how many versions of the bob there were. Either wavy or very structured, or like Naomi Campbell had a middle parting, very severe bob. And
very blunt cuts, I noticed as well.
And Kylie Jenner had a peroxide, and then Carly Kloss had a more of a graduated bob. So it was really nice to see such a classic and so many people's interpretation of that classic look.
So speaking of Met Gala, has anybody come in for the shave after Cara Delevingne went with her?
Not quite yet. I think that's taking it to the. I mean, she's so beautiful. She can wear anything. Yeah. But her silver painted scalp was also quite an inspiration. Yeah. And but the buzz cut is also, I think, definitely for the first time in 10 years, we're definitely seeing shorter hair is much more fashionable than long hair.
And it seems to be quite an enduring trend. It's been a few years now. Because my concern is always that you go for this trendy shortcut, and next season you're back to long hair, it's not possible to get your hair there. So speaking of trends, David, where do you feel trends emerge? I mean, how do they start?
Well, I think before it was like the fashion season in Paris and that. And I think now with the internet and Instagram and Pinterest, it's like a global village, and trends are much faster, and they reach you've got to be much more aware of it, because they reach the public so much quicker.
So much faster.
Yeah, so
they don't have to go through Vogue and publish in 3 months before people see them.
Yeah, and I think things like years ago, before Pinterest and Instagram, if someone said, "Oh, I've got green hair, I want green hair," everyone would and now you go on Pinterest and there are pages and pages and pages of green hair. So the eye has become a lot more accustomed to unusual things, like the pink hair trend.
Yes.
And then
Or
it went to
pastels
rose
and-
gold and pastel. So we're much more open to trends, and we're aware of them. Or Kim Kardashian bleaches her hair, and we see it not the next day, we see it in an hour of when she did it. So I think we've got to be a lot more aware.
So they're coming from all walks of life, from celebrities, from
to the catwalk, to things like the Met Gala. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, David. So, David, what do you see? I mean, do you find your clients are very trend conscious? Do they pick up on these trends, and are they in the salon the next day to get their haircut, or do you still find that there's certain styles that are better suited to certain faces, or do you encourage your clients to take risks with their choices?
I think it's nice to take a risk. I mean, that's not for everyone, and also I think there's a lot of things to consider with a hairstyle. I think it's very important. Lifestyle is also very important, and people don't always consider that. So if you're a busy mom, or you've got a busy work schedule and you go to the gym a lot, and you've got curly hair, and it's a perfect straight bob, you won't have the time to do that. So it's never going to look like that.
Yeah.
So, or if a socialite housewife and you've got all the time in the world, you can have your hair blown out. You can have whatever style you want. So there's a lot of factors that goes into it. So even if someone really wants something that I try to analyze their lifestyle, what sort of things they do. Also,
the practicality the cut.
I also say when someone comes to a new hairdresser or comes in for the first time, you should really wear what you wear majority of the time. So if you're a high-powered businesswoman, don't come in a Saturday in a tracksuit, because immediately to the eye you think, that's so
her,
you've got to. Or in the same note, if you like a high-powered businesswoman but you cycle all weekend, then you know what I mean. It's no use you having a really corporate look. You might need something that's longer that you can tie up.
All right.
So, and also explain to the hairdresser sort of a lot about your lifestyle, because it's a very important thing when you're deciding on a new look.
So I am aware you're not only a celebrity stylist, but you have, as you've mentioned, many high-powered business people coming to you, men and women. Do you find they're as conscious of their looks and appearance, their hair, as your celebrities that come to you?
Yeah, I think more people are more, I think it's, especially younger girls, with like selfies and Instagram, it's like really important. It's become more and more, whether it's right or wrong, it's very important how people look. I mean, I think a few years ago, you would have one or two photographs of yourself, and now you have like hundreds of photographs a day, on a daily basis, So, people are very... before you'd have a haircut and a color, and you'd have a photo 2 weeks later and sit and say, I'm not so... Now, within an hour, in the salon, girls are taking selfies of themselves. So you've got to be... Your job's got to be a lot more perfect, because people are a lot more critical, and they even colors and everything, how the haircut falls, how when they've washed it, they might take a selfie after they've got out the shower, so all the looks are very important. So it's sort of made the job a little bit more demanding, because your customer is much more in touch with her appearance by how many times she's been photographed, and that's just your normal, not even your celebrity, it's your normal.
It's your average client.
Yeah.
So, David, how do you go about, we've spoken about cuts and versatility, but how do you go about advising clients on color? I've read sometimes that certain colors only suit certain people, and I've read in other places that actually anyone can wear any color, and it's just about how you dress it up, the colors you choose to wear, the makeup, etc. How do you advise people on color?
Well, I think it was an old-fashioned thing that you were like an autumn, winter, summer thing, and I think nowadays no one listens to the rules. They want to break it up. So if someone comes in and she wants to be blonde, she's going to want to be blonde. You've got to advise her, but you can make anything work, and people want to, and also you can change, it just depends on the tone. Obviously, the most important thing to me is condition. So if someone's really dark and they've been dyeing their hair for years and years, they're never going to be very light blonde, because it's very hard to lift out previous color from their hair. Okay. But I think people can... you can experiment with any color at the moment, but and also the type of products are a lot better for their hair.
Okay.
So it's you can be a lot more creative and have a lot more fun with color. As long as you do it correctly and also have the time to move from one color to the next.
Other. It is a process,
Yeah.
especially when lightening the hair or going blonde.
Yeah, and then also depending on the skin tone, if you want to be red, a cooler or warmer red, and the same with blonde. If you want to be more of an ashy side, or are you more on the gold and like rose gold side? So
Okay.
you can make anything work, but it's just about the underlying tone that you choose for
Okay.
that depth of color.
Okay. So I'm often very concerned with the appearance of my hair, particularly because I do have very soft, very fine hair.
Yeah.
So if you had to advise someone, perhaps hair is not in the best condition, fine hair, not this, thick, gorgeous locks, for that kind of hair, what would you advise? What is color-wise and cut-wise?
The most important thing for any hair, and obviously more, is the condition first. So the most important thing is that you get a good starting point, which would be your shampoo and conditioner.
Okay.
So, depending on your hair type, I mean, there are hundreds of different, which I work with the Davines line. So for fine hair, you could use the Volume shampoo and conditioner, or you could use the energizing if your hair's, there's hair loss, because it's really fantastic for hair loss. And then a good treatment. And then, obviously, the fine and thinner hair, the more careful you've got to be when you color your hair, because it's fragile, it breaks easily.
Yeah.
So try, like we have a line of color that's got no parabens in.
Okay.
It's a new color by Davines, and that's the name of the color, a new color.
A new color,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. And there's actually not even fragrance in it. And
Okay.
it's, there's no parabens. No,
Is that the one that feels a bit like almost like a clay mask in your hair?
a little bit, yeah. It's much thicker, and there's no ammonia in the color
Yes.
as well. So if you could start off with something like that, and then as you get more strength in the hair, you can be a little bit braver.
More adventurous.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also with fine hair, if you want to go lighter, you could use things like flamboyage, which is a more natural coloring technique, where you don't have to do it so often. And then we also doing a new thing. We're doing like balayage and freestyle painting, where we've got a new product. It's actually not a Davines product, but it's Luminage. So it's got like Bonplex in it. So like it strengthens the hair and it hardens on the hair. So you can do freestyle painting, and that you only have to do every 6-7 months. So it's very long lasting. That doesn't damage. So I think that's with finer hair, it's important that you try to do something that you don't have to color so often, and that's a lot more gentle on the hair.
Okay. So, David, obviously you're an incredible stylist and creative, but you're also a businessman. You own 3 very successful Carlton hairs, am I correct?
No, I own two Carlton hairs, and I work in one in Cape Town.
Okay, all right. So it's Melrose
Constantia.
Arch and Hyde Park.
And then I work in Constantia.
Yes, which is the busiest hair salon I think I've ever seen. Hyde Park is amazing. And yet you still manage to treat your clients and, like celebrities. You get really spoiled when you come through. So how do you juggle the sort of business side with the creative side, and also just needing time to do your own thing, personal life? Monday today is your day off, but otherwise you're pretty busy.
Yeah, I mean, you just sort of fit it all in. I think it really helps that I love what I do, so it doesn't really feel like work.
Okay.
So it's not a chore,
I think that's
So
the dream.
long hours don't. I mean, I'm happy where I am. I like being there. So I love traveling, and I love working with women, and I love what I do. So I think it really helps. It makes it a lot easier. But I mean, you've got to stay relevant in this time, and you've got to be constantly aware. You see a lot of hairdressers that, were amazing in a time, and then I think you've got to stay humble. If you're arrogant and you don't think, and you know what, you've got to try and learn something new every day. Something will come along. And then people say, oh, you're always going overseas. How can you learn something? I've never come back and not been inspired, or not come back with something new. And it's great to be working in an industry that's, well, I think any industry now with technology and that is always moving forward.
Yes, constantly.
And you really don't want to be left behind, you know.
And David, when you travel, do you feel South Africa is relevant? Do you think we're sort of following trends? Do we create our own?
I think in the hair, maybe with the ethnic hair, some of our trends are quite, relevant to South Africa. But I think still, especially with color and things like that, London is definitely the leader. I think because of the street style in London, I mean, you can even go to Milan and Paris and New York, and especially for hair, London is where it's at because they're a lot more adventurous. It's more exciting. So that's the best place to go for inspiration,
Definitely not conservative.
No, they're not. And, even if you just catch the tube in London, you'll see people with things, the pink hair that has always started there, like it comes much, much quicker from there than anywhere else.
So, David, lastly, final question. I would like to know, as you are my fashion icon and inspiration, who is yours? Who would you say? I mean, we could talk about a designer or a design house, but who do you feel sort of really inspires you or encapsulates your personal style? Who do you look to for inspiration?
It changes. It changes. At the moment, I'm loving Gucci and the new designer there, Alessandro, because I just think I love the eclectic. I love how he's just changed everything. And what's unbelievable is that he's made Gucci relevant again. And also in these economic times, there's been like a 50% growth in Gucci. So it's which is unheard of in this time. So it just shows that's, if someone can do something creative and still make money, it's really amazing to me. He's like really tapped into where things are at the moment, and how I really think that people want to be an individual again. And I think we haven't seen this since the 80s when people were doing what they want. So to me, at this stage, he's my true inspiration. But ask me a few months' time, it'll probably be someone else.
I will be sure to ask you. David, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Jes, for coming onto the Flipside. It's been wonderful talking to you. And we'll see you soon in the salon.
I hope to come back again. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, David.